everybody. Welcome to the 5th episode of On That Note with Parker Whirling. Today's special guest is Anton Khabbaz, formerly known as Dream Suite. He's a good friend of mine, and he has some amazing music out there. He put out 2 songs this year, Angel Number and Let's Fly to New Zealand. I'm excited to interview him today, and I know you guys are going to love him. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button down below. I really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy the interview. Perfect. And I think we have the same microphone.
Dude, the Rode NT1.
NT1A, man.
That's what I use on every song. It's like the best microphone. It's like $200.
It's so cheap, and this pop filter is perfect, honestly.
Yeah. What's up, man?
Nothing much, dude. Great to see you. How you doing?
I've been good. This is so cool because like I've never done like an in-person kind of like interview at all, and doing this over Zoom is just like so 2020, you know?
Yeah, right. It's honestly so perfect for the time.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that this could be your first one, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, no problem, dude. It's super cool that you're like doing this, especially because like I feel like not a lot of people are taking advantage of like this whole pandemic situation to like be creative and try like stuff like this out.
Yeah, I have enjoyed podcasts, honestly, for not even that long. I really got into them within the last year and realized there wasn't a lot of things like this that I was aware of, where they're talking to more DIY indie artists, people you maybe haven't heard of, but are still putting out really great things. And that's kind of what inspired this. And you were definitely one of the first people I thought of, obviously, 5th episode. So I'm excited that I get to interview you.
Awesome. That's awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Are you in Malibu right now?
Yeah, I live like about like 15 minutes out from Malibu area. It's like a very quiet suburban neighborhood, so it's definitely not LA. So I get to be able to be in my own space, and it's nice because like I feel like if I was in LA, I'd just like live with so much pressure. I don't know, just like everything's fast paced over there, and I like it. I love it, but I feel like a part of like what like allows me to like be able to like write music and just be like totally creative and not really think about things too much and not really have that pressure to like, oh man, like I need to put out a song like next month, or I need to do this. Like I kind of get to like live life a bit, you know, go for runs and go for walks outside, come back, write music, take a step back, hang out with some friends. It's nice.
Yeah, I think you got it figured out, man. A lot of people, including myself, you make the move to Los Angeles and you think you got to be in the city, be in the rush of it all. But honestly, I think you got the right move here, like kind of moving a little bit out in a beautiful area, very quiet. You can work on your own shit on your own time and not be like, I don't know what your living situation is, but if you have an apartment, you got neighbors, you can't exactly practice very loud. And if you're playing drums, forget about it.
Yeah, I just know like a lot of friends who have apartments in LA, and they just have maybe like neighbors complain like, dude, your music's way too loud, like turn it down. And it was not even loud at all, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
That's why a lot of people in LA like end up renting like studios, which is just like an extra expense. You know, if you can make your living space your workspace without having like the two collide together, that's like the most ideal scenario.
Your music is very beachy, electronic dance, kind of carefree. Do you feel like that fits in with where you live? Do you think you already had that in you and then the living space brought it out? Or was it the reverse, where living in this kind of not remote, but a little bit further away from, the downtown area, does that like influence how you write?
I feel like my living space doesn't really like define like my music. It's more of just like how I feel creative. Like, it's so easy to be in a space where you're like, you just don't feel creative, you know what I mean? And I feel like I definitely have a balance where I'm at right now, where, obviously some days I may like wake up and like, I don't feel like making music today. And some days I'm just like so inspired because like I look out my window and I see like this huge mountain, and it's like, I don't know, you just like look at it for like 5 minutes sometimes. You just like think of things in a weird way. I don't know. I feel like my inspiration comes from a lot of things, not like just where I'm at the moment. It's just like life experiences, come up in your head randomly from time to time. And sometimes, like, I don't know, like I dream of something and I'm like, oh, wow, like I remember that. And then, like, maybe I'd write a song about it the next day. Or, like, maybe I'm just like feeling so specific towards something, like just something's been on my mind like the whole week. And the only way I could get it out of my head is just to write a song about it. I tend to do that like a lot.
You mentioned earlier that you're not always feeling that creative process. And I think that's something a lot of people go through where you can't just switch it on.
Yeah.
What do you do to kind of get that going if you're not exactly in that mood?
I just take a step back. I just like don't do anything for a bit because I feel like if you're not feeling it and you just like, kind of like force yourself to feel it, then it's just going to be so unnatural and you're never going to get to that point where you like are able to like write, good music. It's going to be kind of like forced. So I just kind of take a step back and like live life a bit, spend time with family, FaceTime my friends, and allow myself to like build up a creative headspace. So when I come back, I'm ready and like I'm in my best spot.
I think the real fact is you're either in that creative headspace or you're not. And you know when something isn't quite working out the way you were hoping it would.
Mm, yeah, totally.
I wanted to ask you, when I met you, you were known as Dream Suite. And now you go by your full name, Anton Khabbaz. What inspired that change?
Yeah, Dream Suite was just like that's how I first started doing things. Like my first song ever was under that project, and I feel like I slowly started to realize that I wanted to sing on my own stuff. And my first two songs underneath Dream Suite were like featuring other artists, and I kind of felt like it would be confusing if I were to kind of like just launch like a solo project where I'm like singing and it's like all me when I have like a couple songs underneath my portfolio that are like featuring other artists. And like when it comes to like live shows, they're gonna be like, oh, can you perform like those two songs? And I'll be like, oh, I'm not singing on them. And I just wanted like things to be like so like consistent and just like it looks like from the start, it's like it makes sense, Um, like with Angel Number, my first song underneath my own name, I wanted that to kind of be like a statement song. Like this is like what the project's going to be about. And I kind of really just like discovered like my voice in that song, something I haven't ever had in like Dream Suite or like anything I've ever done. And um, I feel like doing it under my own name allowed myself to be just like more expressive in my writing and my vocals and just the production overall.
So for Angel Number, you did everything except master it. How do you balance all of that creative responsibility in one song?
Yeah, I'm so particular with things, So when I go into like writing a song, I just like want to do everything like to the best I can. And usually that like takes like me doing it myself because like say I hand it off to like a mix engineer and like he envisions the song like different than like I picture it. And then it would just be a lot of going back and forth and it just takes so much time. So I feel like me going to like music school, learning like the whole audio engineering stuff allows me to like be able to like sit down and like take the time to like mix my stuff and engineer it and all. And I actually enjoy doing it. I love that shit. So like I'm kind of like an audio nerd at heart. So I don't mind doing it at all. And then the mastering stage is just like something I'll like, okay, I'll send it off, kind of like take it to a place where it was made in a bedroom and then like kind of like emulates like it was like made in a studio because it's like being ran through like gear and stuff. And that's like the one thing I'll probably like just always have like send it off to the mastering guy, but like try to mix it myself as much as I can.
How do you work with someone else who's going to be mastering it? Because mixing, I mean, once you're done with the mix, it's arguably 90 to 95% there. How do you like pick the person who's going to finish, like polish off that last 10 or 5%? Like what is that? What's your standard? Like what do you want from someone who's doing that?
I feel like I just don't want it to be too much of a change, you know, because like I kind of already like mixed it and like produced it to like the tonality I like envision it to have, and mastering is just kind of like that last like cherry on top, like very little, just maybe just like a touch better, but like I don't want it to be like entirely different from like my original mix or anything. Um, and I feel like that's like what mastering engineers are good at. Like they improve a song, but like they do it by doing like the little, like the smallest moves and stuff. So
So when you're mixing your own songs and creating your own songs, how does that differ from when you're mixing or working on other songs for other people through your company, Boulevard Sound?
the Boulevard Sound stuff is like very freelance at the moment, and it's kind of just like a thing I have on the side for like, you know, extra money. But I do a lot of the songs underneath that project for like friends and just people I've like known in the music industry like for a long time. A lot of times they're like, "Oh, Anton, you're like pretty good at mixing. Like, can you just like do the song real quick?" And I'm like, "Sure, send it over." But like now with the pandemic, I've noticed like a lot of people have been hitting me up and like, "Oh, dude, like I saw you mix this song. Can you do mine?" And like just random people from like different countries and stuff. So that's kind of like just doing its own thing. I'm not trying to like really spend like my whole life on it, because obviously I want to like, you know, still be able to like set aside time to write my own music. But that's kind of been like my little side hustle at the moment.
How do you approach a song that's not yours and and you have to make it its best that it can be, at least to your own ears?
Yeah, I kind of like, are you trying to say like how do I like differentiate like giving a certain amount of quality to my own stuff and like separate that from like working with other people? Is that what you're trying to say?
Or even just, people have different tastes, and I would imagine it'd be its own challenge to mix somebody else's song, especially with them not in the room telling you how they want it to sound.
Yeah, I try to just like, I listen to whatever they give me, and I usually try to like feel like, okay, this is like what they're going for. This is the sound they want. And I try not to change that. I just try to like make it a little bit better. I try not to take away the artistry behind a production in a mix, because I feel like that's so easy. Even when I'm mixing my own stuff, I feel like once the production is finished and I take it to like the mixing stage, I feel like sometimes I want to change things too much where it ends up just like ruining the whole vibe of the song. So I try to like keep that integrity of the record and um, allow the song to speak for itself. And I'm just basically like cleaning like the little stuff up.
Very well put. I would imagine it'd be easy for some people to kind of step on it and try to, add their own little shit to it to make it kind of their own. And
Hmm.
that can be a fine line. Some people don't want you to, quote unquote mess up their track. Like
Yeah.
they just want you to make theirs as best as it can be.
Hmm.
So I noticed that you performed recently. You made a video for Thinking Huts. What is that?
That was something. This girl named Maggie, she reached out to me on Instagram, and they're basically building a 3D printed school. It was all for a great cause, and I have never done any like live show of any sort. So I was like, sure, let's do it. And I kind of recorded it in my house, and um, it was interesting because like I feel like making music is so much different than performing your music, and it's like a whole nother world. Um, a lot of like practice and time goes into like being able to like perform a song well, and um, like you know, playing piano and singing at the same time is such a hard thing. I tried doing it at first with Angel Number, and then I feel like I still need to like practice and get better at that. But for that show, I just kind of had the background instrumental, and then like I was just doing the vocals. But at one point, I'm really gonna need to like sit down and like really build a live show that makes sense and sounds like amazing, and playing these instruments live. And the goal is like one day have like a band behind me and like just make it a whole experience.
Well, it looked great and you sounded awesome. I thought it was a great idea, honestly, just singing into the mic, going through your computer, like it sounds awesome. And I definitely think what you did, a lot of people don't immediately think that you can do that when you're talking about playing live. And I just think the way you did it, like it was aesthetically pleasing. It looked nice, like it sounded great. It sounded very professional. I think we're probably seeing more people doing things like that, especially this day and age. But do you want to learn instruments? Are you playing anything?
I mean, I've always played piano growing up as a kid, but I want to get better at like guitar and maybe like learn the bass or something. Like I know how to like play these instruments by ear, but I can't just like pick them up and like just play Mozart, Yeah. Well, the piano is different because I feel like I've, gotten like enough experience like playing piano, like taking lessons as a kid, but like guitar and like, um, other instruments, like I'm still kind of like learning, but I kind of just like pick strings that sound good when I'm playing guitar, especially on my own songs. But yeah, I feel like you could always just learn. I feel like learning never stops.
What's cool is I think a lot of people also don't know that, you don't even really have to play any instruments to make music. You can have Logic or Ableton and you can make amazing songs without knowing literally anything about music. You can just use your ears. But obviously, knowing piano or guitar or anything like that is going to be so beneficial for what you bring to your own track.
I feel like a lot of times I try to take a step back from playing like a digital like instrument like that's like on Logic or Ableton, and like try to like really play it and like record guitar, record piano, like the stuff that kind of give production like a more natural element.
Well, what advice would you give to somebody who is, being an aspiring producer and wants to make the kind of the same music as you, maybe is thinking about moving to LA for something like this? What would you say?
I feel like I learned a lot by making a lot of mistakes, and it's really just about coming back from that, not giving up, as cheesy as that sounds. I feel like you only grow when you fall and like you do things wrong, because that's really the only way you could like know how to do things right, by doing things wrong first. Um, but I feel like I've learned a lot from my friends and from experiences, just like being in like songwriting sessions and just like picking other people's brains like on how to do things, like the people that have done it already, like I have a lot of friends that kind of like are killing it right now, and like I asked them like, yo, how'd you do this or how'd you do that, and like they would like kind of like sit down with me and like give me a couple tips here and there, and that would help a lot. I feel like I've learned more doing that than like sitting in any like class at school or anything like that, or like reading a book. I feel like just experiencing it like yourself and like um just learning from your peers is so important. So that takes like a lot of like going out there and making connections. I know it's hard now in pandemic, but like I feel like DMs and online interactions are so in right now. So just like kind of being humble and reaching out to people like producers, songwriters, engineers, DMing them on Instagram, but like not making it cold, like kind of making it more like personal and heartfelt. And I feel like you would probably get a response by doing that.
Yeah, putting yourself out there is such a big part of it that I don't think a lot of people tell you, like how many people do you know that have a bunch of music that don't want to put it out because they're a little self-conscious? And what you were saying about, you can't fly unless you fall or whatever that was. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I interviewed this guy, Kid Hastings, yesterday, and he had a quote that is the feeling of euphoria is just beyond discomfort,
Hmm.
which I thought was such a very well put phrase. You know, you'll never grow unless you put yourself out there, unless you are, you're going to fail. You're just going to.
Right.
But nobody who's great didn't fail multiple times.
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta mess up a ton. I feel like that's so important. If you're not messing up, you know, a lot, trying to like pursue what you love, I feel like you're doing it entirely wrong. You gotta kind of like make those mistakes. I feel like that's very important in like growth and in general in life. That applies to everything in life.
So true, man. I think that's a great transition into the last five, which is just five questions I'll ask you. It used to be called Fast Five, but it didn't go by very fast. So take your time with however you want to answer the questions.
Nice.
All right. So the first one, and I already know this, but not everybody else does. Logic or Ableton?
Oh, actually, I use both nowadays. I find myself kind of producing the song in Ableton, and like Logic has such great like stock instruments, and the drum sample library on there is like sounds super real. I know a lot of like big artists out there who have like used that on tracks. I'm like, damn, like I really thought that was a real drummer drumming. So sometimes I would take my songs from Ableton into Logic and like do like some drum stuff, some like other like sound stuff in there. Also vocals, like recording vocals in Logic is a lot easier than in Ableton. So
Yep.
both, but Ableton a little bit more for me for production.
See, that's what I thought you were going to say, but I guess you've embraced the hybrid situation.
Yeah,
The best of both worlds. That's a good idea.
exactly.
All right. Right now, who's the most underrated artist?
Ah, I've got to say like my buddy Lou Music, like he's like sitting on so much like good stuff that he has not even put out yet, but like I feel like he's onto great things. Shout out. His name's Dan. It's my boy.
Yeah, Dan Elkayam, right? I met him once.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Great guy.
Super cool dude, good music. What's his big song he's got out?
I co-wrote his first song, and then we also did like another record together under like my Dream Suite project called Up to You. Um, we like shot a music video for it. Like we filmed it ourselves. Like went out to Joshua Tree and like it was like a whole like weekend thing. It was super fun. Uh, but yeah, he's a super good friend of mine. We went to music school together, and yeah, super talented. Go check him out.
Shout out to Loom, Loume, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He has like two dots on the U, like that interesting, like little.
The umlaut.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Can't forget that.
Can't forget it.
Unexpected influence.
Oh, interesting. Well, like someone I've been influenced by. I'm like, oh man, I didn't expect to be influenced by them. Kind of.
Either you didn't expect to be an influence, or we wouldn't expect it to be an influence. Either one.
Yeah, I was listening to the Beach Boys the other day, and they had a song called Hushabye that came on, and I was like, the harmonies and vocal stacks in this are amazing. I added it to my playlist, and I'm actually wearing a Beach Boys shirt right now, so that just like ties in together so well.
That's a cool shirt, man. Show it off. Stand up. Let's show it off.
Oh, show it off.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, yeah. It's this company called Made Worn. They make like super cool vintage tees. Should check them out. I'm just like,
Hey, maybe you'll get sponsored.
yeah, 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 hopefully.
Well, right on. Beach Boys, unexpected influence. It's kind of hard to go wrong with them.
Exactly. You know, it's like I feel like for the longest time I was like the Beach Boys and they had that one song that's like ooh, woo, or something like that. But then
That's all of them.
yeah, and I listened to like their whole entire album and I was like, they're just amazing. I feel like music was so good back then. It's like sometimes I try to think like, will it ever be the same? I don't know.
Yeah, you think about how they recorded music back then, like they had 4 tracks or 8 tracks and they had to do this, they had to make amazing music with just that. And now I'm like, why can't I figure out what snare sound I want when there's 1,500 snares to choose from?
Yeah, it was just all organic back then. They had like some dude in the studio just like ready to, track drums. And like most of the time they all be in the booth like recording the entire song at the same exact time, you know, like they wouldn't like, oh, we're doing vocals this day, we're doing drums like the next day. It's like we're all here, we're gonna record the whole entire song in like one take. And that's like when the magic happens.
All right, who's your dream producer to work with?
Dream producer. And there's a lot. I feel like there's so many good producers out there. I feel like I feel like Kenny Beats is killing it right now. Like he's doing so many cool stuff in the more like rap and also like indie world. Trying to think who else. Ryan Tedder is super talented. That dude, you know, lead singer of One Republic. Like he's produced so many big records. I love to get in like a session with him one day.
That dude can write a song.
That dude, that dude can write a song. Yeah. Uh, Scott Harris, he's done a lot of like stuff for like Shawn Mendes. Jason Evigan, that dude like wrote a lot of stuff like Maroon 5 and like Rufus Du Sol. There's a lot of people. I'm not really too biggie on that. So many talented like producers in this industry. It's hard to choose.
Yeah, you got the list going on.
Yeah.
You already know who you're going to be working with in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
All right, man, this is the last one. I'm going to send you off on a good one. What is your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, dude, I feel like we went to like, remember that time we were at Cafe Habana Malibu and like it was like karaoke night?
Yes, I do.
Remember what song I
You sang a few. I needed a few more margaritas before I went up there.
I think it wasn't it My Boo by Usher or something like that?
Yeah, that's what it
Was it Usher? Did Usher sing that song?
I don't know.
Honestly, I hope he did, or else I sound like a complete dumbass right now.
I think you're right, but we'll check after the show.
Yeah. I mean, either that or what's that one song? Beautiful Soul by Jesse McCartney. That song always hits at karaoke.
Always.
Yeah.
I feel like 1,000 Miles, you can't go wrong with that one either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one's cool.
Beautiful Soul, I think, is the best one for that.
Yeah. Great guy.
Jesse McCartney, also
Yeah.
shout out.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I think this is our time here on that note. I appreciate you coming in, Anton Khabbaz. Everybody needs to go check you out. Check out Loom, your underrated artist.
Dan the Elkian.
Thank you again for coming in. Seriously, I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.